I think that's one of the big effects, and I think by default it is what Dubai kind of created at the beginning. It diffused the idea of this Arab wonderful place into the minds of consumers, and now people want to come and experience.
But how does that affect the hotel industry and the landscape of the industry? If we have, these five-star hotels, and you've got the mid to low range budget hotels, what's the style, what's the feel of Dubai like? I mean, so just going back to, as I said, the text message, don't make it into the Benidorm of the 80s. Many people had a great time in Benidorm. I've never been myself, but we know what they're talking about. So you've got these incredibly reasonable package deals for a five-star hotel coming from the UK, and yet those people in Dubai can't afford to stay in them themselves. They're sort of priced out of the market. We had a caller during the break there saying that she'd just come back from Oman and stayed at one of the mid to low range hotels for about 350 dirhams a night. Fantastic, absolutely happy. It facilitated, it enabled her to go and experience the Middle East for a reasonable amount of money. So, I mean, I suppose my question is what is my question? I mean, where do we see just a real diversification? Do we see that it's going to be very much placed across the board? We've got enough mid-range, we've got enough low to bottom-end range, and we've got enough high-end range. And you won't be able to sort of say that Dubai is the luxury destination anymore. It'll be more about Dubai as the destination for anyone. Well, I mean, how do you see it's going to be changed, the marketing going to be changed? Who wants to jump in on that?
Well, I would say that it's not the crisis which has triggered a kind of different positioning of Dubai. You have the main reason is the real diversification of the economy. Dubai has become for a few years a real hub. With a service-oriented economy, bank, insurance, financial, and also is diversifying in terms of leisure, of tourists. That's and the crisis has just accelerated this trend. But if you want to be a real hub from a business standpoint, you need to have this kind of very diversified and segmented hotel supply. And I would say that in that respect, I develop all over Middle East, and in that respect, Dubai is still much ahead, even if it might be sometimes painful because of the downturn, but is very much ahead of the other places in Middle East.
Let's bring Christian in if we can, and because we haven't actually spoken about the interiors of the hotels and how the design standards possibly have also changed. Are you finding that you are being approached to design more of the mid to low range as opposed to the high range, and if so, how do you deal with that?
I think we have. I think what has happened in the past few years, maybe the brands themselves focus more on their core identities. We're going back to what the world expects from a brand like Residor or a brand like Accor or any of the hotels they have. Going back on the luxury part, though, I still think that there's a certain sense of luxury provided in Dubai that you don't have in the rest of the world. I mean, I'm getting, I think I'm in trouble with some gentlemen across the table often enough to know that we tend to design hotels a little bit too over the top in Dubai because the clients demand that. So they do acknowledge. So I think it's still luxury destinations, and I don't think that bringing in a lower brand is going to hurt Dubai's image. On the contrary, I mean, 60 million passenger a year still have to go somewhere, and I don't think they can all stay in 5 stars.
Yeah. We've got a couple of phone calls coming through. Let's go to the phone lines if we can. Gentlemen, if you want to grab yourselves a pair of headsets, 431010 is the number. Let's see who is joining us online. Good afternoon. You're live on Dubai Eye.
Oh, hi, good afternoon. My name's Claire, and I'd just like to make a comment about the hotels that are outpricing the local market. To give you an idea, over Eid, we spent a weekend in a hotel where it cost us 4,000 dirhams for 2 days. And we overheard a bunch of tourists, Brits, in the swimming pool, and they paid 6,000, which was for 6 nights, flights all inclusive,
You must have been absolutely kicking yourself, weren't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a great shame because, I mean, as expats, we're very loyal to our brands, and we do enjoy, good food, and it's just a shame that we're just not rewarded for our loyalty.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good point, and I'm sure many people would actually, myself included, would agree with that and not really understand how it actually works. Thank you very much for your point, Claire. I'm going to put that question to our two hoteliers here in the studio. Thanks very much.
Pleasure. Bye.
Bye. Well, Philippe and Marco, I mean, how do you respond to that?
Well, I'm actually a little bit surprised to hear when it comes to it is a high demand period for Dubai, but we have had tremendous offers in the hotels in the Middle East, throughout the Middle East, and like all the booking channels, it depends a little bit how you book also the hotel. If you book a flight bookings works the same way. If you book in the last moment, you pay more also.
No, yeah, I mean, fair enough, but it does exist, and I know it for a fact from myself, having booked for parents, friends, etc. They've come from the UK, and then having to try to find a room for myself, and I can't find a reasonable room, and yet if they booked from the UK, it's half the price, and I can understand how.
But then that's a whole other area. But that's a whole other area. Though. It's a whole kind of the marketing of.
Well, we're not the market then.
No, but that's a whole other area. The marketing teams, and what are they pricing these things as? But looking at where is Dubai going? What's it doing? How will it evolve? How will it be perceived? How will people fill the market and the hotel rooms? Clearly, the whole idea of costing has to be part of that whole strategic plan.
But I think a lot of people here. Again, residents, there was another lady that called up during the break. She had a similar point to make, that if you want, as a resident of Dubai, to spend the afternoon in a hotel by the pool, it costs a fair amount of money, 500 plus at the five-star hotels. What do you get for that? Whereas if you had come from another country, you could probably get 2 nights for the price of an afternoon.
It also reinforces, though, the behaviour of people towards hotels. They use them as social environments, again, in a way that we don't use them in other world markets. And it's a pity that whatever it is being planned, tourists coming into Dubai, there's no kind of is there a plan in place for people that live here, to be able to use hotels, to be able to have loyalty schemes, to be able to have price points that are absolutely fair and in line with what tourists from abroad are actually buying into them for?
I think there are several reward programs for restaurants. We simply, the hotels, the restaurants will not survive without the local support, and it is a very important source. We need the local support, so to say, to run our hotels and restaurants.
I'd say that the experience of the lady is actually an effect of the distribution. It's like when you take a flight, you don't have 2 people paying the same price very often. And what happens is that you have maybe 1,000 room nights booked in advance months ago by a tour operator, a distributor, and then you have maybe only 15 or 20% of the capacity during this week, which is available for individual demands. And then the hotels price the, I would say, the displayed rate in that instance for the what we call the independent traveler. That's just the effect of the distribution. And if you book in advance, much in advance, yes, you have whether it is Holiday Inn Express or a luxury brand, then you have different price. You have discount if you book in advance and so on.
So we kind of got off the whole interior design side as well. We can go back to Christian and just to really, talk about perhaps the design standards, and have you in fact been affected, and have you seen a change in design trends? How are people going more for the less over the top, as you mentioned, and the more minimalistic and perhaps more economical fit outs of hotels?
I think some of the luxury brands, and we see some of the brands like the Address, or some of the hotels like the Address, for example. I don't think they have reduced the level of luxury that was provided in Dubai. I think it's a much more intelligent luxury being provided. I think even the F&B outlets are getting more and more creative. I would tend to say.
But can you define luxury, because you've used the word creative, and I think luxury is ultimately boring. It's incredibly military-like. And a lot of what's delivered is absolutely boring. So how do you come up with creative ideas that are on price, creatively managed and engineered so that they're making sense from a price point of view?